I'm not even sure if this needs to be said, but please take everything I talk about in this video with a grain of salt, because there is no way of verifying any of it. Before we end that though, make sure to subscribe, because we're trying to 4,000 subscribers whenever we do that, and I live stream every Saturday at 11 a.m. PST and 2 p.m. EST, unless otherwise posted. Please come check it out, we always have so much fun. There has been a bunch of fan speculation about when the Sonic Frontiers 2 reveal is going to happen, and most of us think it's going to be at the Game Awards, so I quickly just want to make a video talking about all the recent leaks that have, actually lined up with a lot of things that we've been seeing recently, and hopefully we can get a better idea of what this game is about. Obviously, we're going to be getting pretty much all of our information from the most trustworthy source on the internet, 4chan, and a lot of these do come from Unleash's videos, so if you want to go back and look at his Frontiers 2 leak videos, he's been pumping them every so often, every few months for the past year or so go check those out if you can, because this is where I get most of my information from, although there are some more recent ones in there, so don't worry, this video is at least somewhat original. Okay, so before I even talk about anything, I'm going through some of these, and some of them I just realized I'm not really that interested in talking about, because it's like one of those weird things where it's like, it kind of gives you information, but like it's not really, or there's just like very specific things like this one I'm showing on screen here, where it literally is just the bare bones what we could expect from a Frontier sequel. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about things that actually go into detail about the gameplay, about the story, about what could be happening inside the game. I think those are going to be a lot more interesting than this. Also, that's a really funny Eggman image. I might use that for a profile picture on one of my social media accounts. Clock strikes 12. Midnight arrive. I would like to go over the tweets first, just so we have that out of the way. And all of these are from an Unleashed video, by the way. I'm not sure which one. I think it's the most recent Sonic Frontiers 2 leak one. Don't quote me on that. But anyway, those are where all these are from. So if you want to go check that out, please do so. I would totally recommend it, because his video is probably a lot better than mine. Okay, so Twitter user Ace Super says, "Bro, Knuckles started doing commission on the Master Emerald. Why is the center focus this much?" And this is referring to the 35th anniversary branding, how there's so much Emerald stuff. I talked about this in my 35th anniversary video as well, from like a week or so ago. But yeah, there has been a lot of focus on the Emeralds here. I think that's really interesting. And then another person replies this, I think Zugi Czar, I think it's what their Twitter user is. Anyway, they comment, hashtag foreshadowing, as if they were like Ian Flynn or something, hashtag knowing smile. Dude, that thing... that annoyed me so much when he does that. Anyway, apparently this person seems to know something, seeing as though they also appear in a couple of other tweets that we're going to talk about. But apparently this is leading towards something with the Master Emerald, or the Emeralds in general, which is actually what a lot of the leaks are leaning towards as well, so we'll talk about those when we get to them. Then they posted another thing back on October 17th, which said, CD, 06, and Frontiers Love Child. And then Nero responded saying, might want to include the GBA era in there, which I would assume this person also has information on the Frontiers sequel as well. And then they reply back saying specifically the second one. Now, I'm not quite sure what that means. Obviously, 06 and CD have the time travel elements, maybe some gameplay aspects. Frontiers, obviously, I think we all know what that's referring to. This is a Frontier sequel after all. But I'm not sure what Sonic Advance 2 means in this context here, but we will have to wait and see on that regard. And then Ace Super comes back. I'm not sure if he has information as well, but we'll have to wait and see again if this is right. But it says, if my math is mathing correctly, and it's indeed intentional then, Crossworlds you sly dog, which means that it could be reasonably assumed that the level themes that are shown here appear in the upcoming Frontiers sequel. That's cool. Keep the Steampunk City one in the back of your mind, because we will be coming back to that. And then Nero comes back and asks another person a question. You're gonna see that's the same few people each time we go through the tweets. They say, is Frontiers 2 gonna be a big shift for the Sonic the Hedgehog mainline stuff? And they reply saying, not necessarily, no. It's mostly gonna be really attempting to get their vision of the open world formula down. I think that's great. I think that's what Frontiers really needed to do, was introduce the open world, but then the sequel could go even further in depth. I think that's a brilliant idea. That's what they should have done it with Frontiers with some hindsight, but I'm glad that they're at least doing it now, and hopefully they're getting a larger budget and a larger team to fully expand upon that whole gameplay aspect, because I think it's a really cool thing, the open world gameplay design, and I think it's going to carry Sonic into the next... heck, I'd even say like 20 years from now, we're probably going to be seeing open world stuff from the Sonic series. And my theory is maybe confirmed here when they go on to say this. I'm not going to read this off because it's literally what I just speculated about. But yeah, it's seeming as though this is what they're going to do, is they're going to learn from their mistakes from Sonic Frontiers, and then they're just going to keep pushing it further. like I said, that's great. Now that we are done with the tweets, let's get into the 4chan stuff. Now, I would never actually recommend going on 4chan, mostly because it's honestly not a very safe platform. It's very confusing as well. I tried to find the Sonic game leaks, like, using their search thing. It's really weird, and I was met with a so I just really wouldn't recommend it. So if you're going to be doing this kind of research, please just go on like Reddit or something like that. It's a much safer platform, and you'll probably find better results there even quicker than you would on 4chan. Anyway, the first one goes off like this. The next mainline Sonic game is projected to be a light continuation of Sonic Frontiers. You won't need to play Frontiers to understand it, but some plot points will transfer over. Only the basic plot points are established right now, and Sega higher-ups are very, very involved. Eggman and Sage visit an isolated island that secretly houses a digitized version of the Master Emerald. That will come up later in a couple of other leaks, so just keep that in mind as well. That has been deactivated for centuries. It has a name, but is being kept secret from my insider. The digitized Master Emerald is suddenly activated, which summons all of the Chaos Emeralds. The island shoots up into the sky like Angel Island, and basically traps all of the residents. These are the Meso people? Meso? It could be Miso because there's no, like, second consonant between E and O, so yeah, it's probably Miso. Sonic and Tails track the Chaos Emerald rings and go over. The plan is to stop Eggman from harnessing the power of the digitized Master Emerald, and Sonic has to find the Chaos Emeralds. That's a very Sonic plot. They go on to say the endgame is planned to be like Sonic Unleashed, with a proto-Eggman land being built on the island. The game ends with Sage leaving Eggman's side after witnessing his evil and going about her life in her own way. And they also go on to talk about the lore of the game. Lore, this aspect might change entirely. The island is called the Summit Spire. Keep that in mind. The Miso people of the island were in direct conflict with the Ancients, who created the digitized Master Emerald before they came to Earth. Pretty much confirmed this is what they were using before they came to Earth. Basically, the remaining Ancients who lived on Angel Island kicked out the people who originally lived there, and sent them to Summit Spire. In revenge, they stole the digitized Master Emerald and nearly fully wiped out the Ancients. Recognizing the history of war, the Miso swore to deactivate the digitized Master Emerald forever. Fundamentally, it's a story about whether it's correct to limit someone else's freedoms for your own. I don't particularly like Ian Flynn, but he does have more involvement beyond script writing in this game. Oh yeah, that's a real good indicator of your credibility. You don't like Ian Flynn. Yeah, get in line, buddy. Anyway, that's the end of that leak. I'm not saying this has no credibility to it whatsoever, but I do think a couple of things are just like really outlandish here. Alright, this next one here was posted literally like a month before Sonic X Generations came out, so here it is right here. I've seen a few people share some info about the next Sonic game, and they have lined up with things I've heard, so I'll spill the beans on what I know. Next open zone Sonic game, duh. Expect to release 2026, 2027, duh. 6-7. One island kind of like Angel Island. This is what we've heard from before. Name is Summit Spire. Like I said, this is a piece of information that will also come back later, I believe. It's not on top of any islands, it's Angel Island. Okay. Play as Sonic, Tails, Amy, and Knuckles. Cyberspace is back, but all new layouts and themes. A few less than what was in Frontiers is planned. Okay, so they go on to say about 18 cyberspace stages, about 9 3D stages, and 9 2D stages. No! Okay, so this one is 100% real, because I don't see a world where Sonic Team could ever move away from 2D stages. 4 stages for each side character, 2 2D and 2 3D stages each. Post-launch content planned, ideas to based off the character in the movie, 3 post-credits, but designers don't know who it is yet. Mario is directing, Mario Kishimoto, and his team returns the double size of the Frontiers team. So that's about a good 100 plus people. That's great. Although you do start to lose me just a little bit with the post-credits for the Sonic Movie 3 stuff, with it being Amy and Metal Sonic, obviously. She's already mentioned in this leak, so I'm not sure how they're going to expand upon that more than what they should in the base game. You know, funnily enough, they go on to talk about Sonic X Generations, and, this looks about right. Wait, no, they mention a final story. Some of it is correct, but it's pretty much the same thing. Except for the last story thing, that's just not even true. But they also say the 15 to 20 people Sonic Gen's team also have been working on, yes, an Unleashed remaster. I don't think this is real. I don't think we're going to get anything Sonic Unleashed related within the next couple of years. Some people have even speculated about this recently, but I don't think it's going to be the case whatsoever. And they go on to talk about a bunch of other remakes and remasters, so I legitimately don't think most of this is real. Just take the information from the Frontiers 2 thing, and I think that's all you really need for this video. This This next one, of course, it was taken from a screenshot from a computer, so it has a really bad aspect ratio, so it's going to be a bit awkward for me to talk about it. Working title is Frontiers 2. Game is developed by Morio Kishimoto, with virtually the entire team returning from Frontiers. Some new staff from previous Boost games are returning as game designers. Kishimoto's team has effectively doubled in size. That's what we've heard before in the previous leak, in size after Frontiers' success in Japan. Sega is trying to maintain AAA output with the open world format and Sonic Frontiers team's future releases, so polish and quality are at the forefront. Game began conceptualization shortly after Frontiers' release, that makes sense, and began full-scale development back in October of 2023 after the last DLC was released only on current-gen consoles, PC and Switch 2, no legacy Switch release. Cyberspace will be returning in some way, but will be following similar design philosophies to TFH. Only one giant island. Footage from the open world suggests that they're attempting a less realistic art style. The environment the player was exploring was a lot like Angel Island Zone. Angel Island, again, just keep that in mind. And there were some subterranean areas. Environments are not finished at all. A S-ton of placeholders and asset reuse since it's early. There are NPCs and what looks like villages from what I saw. Other areas were filled with enemies which could attack said villages. Every inhabited area had some level of platforming. Combat looks virtually unchanged from Frontiers. There's a boost like Frontiers, but it's not the main way to go fast. It's really only useful at slower speeds to launch you forwards. Conserving momentum is key. So not a lot is finished, and what is primitive. It is just jank, but not the same as Frontiers. Very early footage, though. Expect a late 2026 release, possibly 2027. Short teaser mid-2025. So that could be definitely the Game Awards if it was just delayed by a little bit. I totally do think the reason they haven't done a Sonic Central this year is that they weren't really ready to put a trailer for Frontiers 2 out. So once they do have a trailer for Frontiers 2 out, we know about the game officially. I think that's when we're going to get our next Sonic Central, especially since the 35th anniversary is literally almost a month away. Next one here, lucky to have an insider who can provide me with Sega info. Sonic dev footage has also been floating around the company. I saw roughly 12 minutes and I already know a bit of dev info about the game. Working title for the game is Sonic Frontiers 2, directed by Morio Kishimoto. Game has been in full development since a couple of months before TFH release. AAA dev size, that's what we've heard before, set on a floating island called Summit Spire. This is like the 4th time we've heard Summit Spire, so I think this is 100% likely that we're going to be getting something called Summit Spire in the game. As you can imagine, it's related to Angel Island again, but it's on top of another bigger grounded island. The main island floats via a digitized version of the Master Emerald. There it is again. Map is way bigger than any island in Frontiers. Movement is drastically different as well. Camera's closer to Sonic, but goes further as you gain speed. It's very dynamic, but also very clunky. Obviously, very early in development, and the game is buggy, but seemingly the combat remains unchanged. Almost the exact same moves as Frontiers. A good bit of the map is kind of like Green Forest. There is a kingdom area, but also an area that resembles Sky Sanctuary, but blue. I'm pretty sure they're using assets from Sonic X Shadow Generation's Kingdom Valley. There's not a single area in the game that even looks halfway finished. There are portals underground that are presumably cyberspace. I know for a fact that cyberspace is in the game, and I'm guessing this is it. Villages with live NPCs. It's kind of like a Minecraft pillager raids where sometimes you have to save the village from a reward. No human. Side loop is a returning feature. This is an easy guess. I would even guess this myself. The gimmick of the game is the surge ability, which is basically the boost but way faster, and it's used to gain crazy momentum. Doesn't last long, and it has to be charged up with rings, kind of like a regular boost. Momentum. That's all they need to say. They just need to say the M word, and that's all they need. I know the director for Unleash is returning this time just as a game designer, and some peeps from Colors and Gens are back in similar roles. The next one we have here was posted on March 9th of this year. I noticed someone posted on /v/ posted about a focus test they did for a new Sonic game called GU. We have not seen that name yet. I don't think I could find the original thing that called it GU, but we might see it later on in the video. GU, I believe, is Japanese for future, by the way. Fact check me again on that because I have no clue, but I believe that's what it is. GU? It lines up pretty well with something I played recently in January 2025. If anyone's even remotely interested in hearing about it, I can tell you some more of what I remember. Most of what the other guy said is accurate. He didn't mention that there are levels which you can access by activating a terminal. You have to maintain enough speed to teleport to them. They play similarly to Frontier Cyberspace, but level theming is more unique, and the Rocket Boost power-up return. Combat is different from Frontiers. You deal damage to enemies via combos, then they start glowing red. When they're red, you bullet dash into them and send them flying or knock them into each other. There's this one enemy that chases you around so you can't avoid avoid fighting it. Open world design is less Breath of the Wild and more like Mario Odyssey. We were asked to answer a survey. One question asked what potential names we liked most: Sonic Frontiers, Sonic Freedom, Sonic Warrior, Sonic Blitz, Sonic Starfile, Sonic Chaos, Sonic Colossus. I think Sonic Blitz being there, I think that's just because Sonic Blitz got trademarked. I don't think that's actually anything very noteworthy. We didn't know what Blitz was at the time of this being posted, so just keep that in mind. Then they go on about a personal story that happened with the Focus Test event, which is actually really funny, but I don't actually have time for it, so I'll just put it up here on the screen, and you could read it for yourself. Okay, so here's the one talking about GU, originally. In July 2024, I took part in a playtest for what I assume is a new Sonic game. I'll admit I'm not the biggest Sonic head, so there were some things I didn't recognize, but I'll try to describe it as best I can. They really try to scare you with the NDA-S, but they still haven't announced the game, so I'm thinking it got silently S-canned. Lamau. It's open world again. Game had no name yet as far as I could tell. We were playing on PCs and the executable was labeled GU, whatever the F that means. There were no set objectives. We were just left to run around and explore. It takes place in a cyberpunk-esque city, which hence the city has been built on top of ancient ruins. The city is dotted with grind rails and ramps. There's a speedometer at the bottom right corner of the HUD. Pressing the right trigger performs a move called the bullet dash. We've heard about this, which gives Sonic a very short burst of speed. Only works if you're already running. Speedometer reaches a certain threshold where you can press the right trigger again to enter what the game calls Bullet Blitz, which essentially turns Sonic into a speeding bullet. The screen shakes and the particle effects go effing crazy, Lamau. You're basically invincible while you're in blitz mode, but it was quite tricky to keep it in this state. The game is bugged too because I launched off a ramp and clipped through the skybox. We were given 20 minutes just to D around in the map, and then we were asked to fill out a 5-minute survey asking what aspects we enjoyed and didn't enjoy. I learned there were action stages in the game, but they never told me how to enter them. No story, no cutscenes, no mention of any other characters, only Japanese voice clips. This game must have been pretty early in development. This is the first time I'm seeing this on the screenshot, but then under that they say, nobody asked. While exploring, I found this one creepy NPC who was just a weird guy talking to a hand puppet of a Chow, question mark. When I tried to talk to him, his dialogue box would just say, null, and then he glitched out and vanished completely. That's the Sonic Unleashed guy. I don't remember his name, but here he is right here. That's 100% who that is if he's actually in the game. Found an egg that I could pick up and carry around. I have no idea what the point of it was. Chow Garden? There were little challenges in the map like get X amount of rings, score Y amount of points within the time limit, or capture this balloon before the timer ends. Defeating enemies gave EXP, which you can use to upgrade your skills. One upgrade was lowering the threshold required to enter Bullet Blitz. That's the last really big one. I just want to cover these next few rapid fire because literally the one that we're about to talk about, it was literally posted like 2 weeks ago. Not going to say the name, but yeah, it's the next big open world Sonic game, not literally Frontiers 2. Sonic GU or Sonic Future is what we could assume it's going to be called. Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Silver, and Shadow are here. New character called Professor Tori, supposedly important to the story. Wait! You don't think Ares includes Steampunk City? That's why I mentioned the Steampunk City earlier, because it was literally mentioned here. I think that previous leak now gets more credibility by saying, oh, Sega, you sly dog by putting these Frontiers 2 stages in a game that releases way before it. That's great if this is actually what it is. And then we have an ice cherry blossom area, which actually will kind of come into another thing later. Rolling physics are actually a thing this time. Feels more classic. That's great. And then new models, question mark, question mark. So I'd assume that means yes, right? Like, come on, dude. You seem to know a lot about this game, apparently, so you really couldn't say if there's new models or not. Announcement trailer planned for the Game Awards. Take that as you will. I guess we'll just have to wait and see then. There's another one that was posted literally the following day, and then they come in absolutely smashing saying, this is an absolute nothing burger of a leak. So let me tell you what I know about the game. Some of what I've heard from my reliable sources that there are other things I've seen with my own eyes. Boost S is gone completely, replaced with momentum-based flow states. This is fake. They're never getting rid of the boost. Sonic's movement is more akin to Sonic Adventure 2. CD-inspired time travel. There are these time portal gates scattered around the open world. If you enter them with enough speed, you can warp into alternate past and future versions of the environment. Like a world that could be like changed to be a steampunk world? You don't think? Box sections from 06 return as bonus challenges. The sense of speed is intense, so I guess that's what they said that's what they meant earlier by 06 being in there somewhere. That's actually kind of cool. That's one of my favorite aspects of 06 is the mock speed segments, so If they were able to bring that back at all, I'd be so happy. Did not see Silver in the game at all, and I've not heard any mention of him showing up. OP is full of S. Okay, so that's one thing that's definitely unreliable about the fact that Silver is here, but seeing as though we travel to the past and then future, I could very well see Sonic's only time travel character that's stayed around. It's gonna be Silver, who's there the entire time, you know? That just seems kind of obvious to me, knowing what we know now about the game. Alright, then this next one is not 4chan, it's just some weird website I don't know the name of. I think it's a messaging platform. But anyway, it says from Ramona, I think it's safe to say Sonic has a bright future. And then Katana? I hate dealing with names I don't know, dude. Watch the next game be something called Sonic Future because of this, and then Ramona replies back saying, this is a bigger tease than just the title. This is all I can say. And that relates back to the time travel aspect of it, as well as all of the different realities that you can alter, you know, the future and past of. I think we're geared up for another time travel game, folks. And then these last two, I kind of wanted to just briefly go over them because it's not very credible, like, at all. Mostly because of the fact that they use AI, but I think it's still kind of necessary to talk about it for one specific aspect. And one of these, it shows Sonic in a cherry blossom area, so that could very well be, like, related to the, ice cherry blossom area if they wanted to do that. I'm also reading through these real quick, seeing if like anything looks similar to any of the other leaks. Warp between alternate versions of zones, each with unique physics, hazards, and secrets. That, again, the rocket boost could be returning. Alternate versions of zones, so like past, future, stuff like that. I think that's neon rails in a violent cyberpunk cityscape. Again, we've seen the cyberpunk stuff from the leaks, so I think that could very well also be an aspect, maybe a future variation of a city. All of these are just concepts, by the way, the AI leaks, so just take that with a grain of salt. None of these could actually end up being the full game story, just want to make that clear. Again, not even sure if these are real, too. Like, these could very well just be, like, made up, but we'd have to wait and see. And the last sentence on the second slide says, and the ultimate test of what freedom really means, which could technically be a callback to that one thing about the plot leak where it said, this game is about what freedom means. Like, I'm showing it on screen. I don't remember at all, but I'm showing it on screen here. You guys know what I'm talking about. That could very well be it. I'm not quite sure. It also says it will use Unreal Engine 5. So that could also be true. They use Unreal Engine 5 for Sonic Racing Crossroads most recently. So I could very well see Sega transitioning to that, especially considering that that's probably what they've been using for a lot of their new, what's it called? The Super Game Initiative. I think that's what they've been using. But yeah, I think some of these are like really good indicators of what's to come for Sonic Frontiers 2, and some of them are just straight up like incorrect, so we'll just have to wait and see when the time comes. The Game Awards are happening on December 9th, so I will in fact be streaming that, and we will see if there's a Frontiers 2 trailer there, like all of the leaks are saying. Like, we're all speculating that there is going to be, so hopefully there is, because I desperately need content right now. Like I said in the beginning and throughout the video, please take all of this with a grain of salt. I don't want to be like spreading misinformation, making people think that this is all real information. None of it is real, so if you've gotten this far, please don't spread any of this, like, around too heavily, like, promoting it as real, because we have no way of knowing. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I want to talk about today. Okay, so the next two videos are probably going to be about Sonic's nominations at the Game Awards. I think that's an easy video to just pump out there. And then the next one is going to be about Sonic remakes and remasters, like, my top 10, what I want to see out of that. I think you guys are really going to like those videos. So let me know what you guys think about all this down in the comments section below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.